Took two cars. My family is doing Jockey's Ridge.
Hey, TJ, on the page was 6'1".
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good grade though. I think their basketball team, if they stick together, will be.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Cam's like one of his best friends, so it's a little sad to see him like.
Okay, can we start right on the dot? Let's wait
Yeah.
1 minute, because,
As much as possible.
need to get.
I think finding stretches my kids out.
Yeah, we have a yoga swing you can hang upside down. You say it, yeah. Oh,
JG, looks like maybe you've been recording this whole time.
The way Nancy's setup is, she's in control of her system is in control of it.
Went
So
back and watched that
it's
meeting.
kinda-
Fascinating.
All right,
Says
well, I didn't say anything embarrassing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it says calls, right, didn't it? Oh, that's what I thought I saw that.
Yeah, I got it.
I was like, ooh, I
But
should say
but
that.
Nancy's end, it is
I got the
recorded,
text.
because when I
Yeah,
hit your pause, it doesn't do anything.
It's just a very odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
But like the videos that go to the town website. Sometimes that has 15 minutes of talking.
Like, exactly, that's it. It's like a gender.
And, you know, it has a lot of talking on it, and that's what always makes me
But
nervous.
still, you can know. You can say.
Is it possible, who's able to edit those?
City of Boulder. She's not gonna give you a second. Like. Like watching.
All right. Call the meeting to order.
We're moving.
And who's in charge here?
Yeah, I saw Chris on
Like,
there
I'm
somewhere. Yes.
All right.
There he is. Okay. All right, camera on. Calling the meeting to order. Cameras on. Thank you. All right, we're officially called to order the CAPS meeting, June 26, 2025. Can we please start with a roll call? Yes, Andrew Vaughn,
Here,
Susan Chevalier. Here. Stephanie Coffin, Sherry Smith, no, Liza McKenzie,
Here.
Brendan O'Connor,
Here.
Sue Benson,
Here.
Chris Nunez.
Here.
Councilmember Neil Shaw.
Here.
Okay, moving on to an approval of the agenda. Any comments, any questions, any corrections? All in favor? Or do we do a motion? I'm sorry. Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Or
We have a first and a second, all in favor? Yes. Okay, the agenda is approved. Next, we move on to public comments, and it doesn't look like any members of the public are here. So we just continue. This is easy. Okay.
all right, it's all yours.
Moving on to staff updates. And that's gonna go very quickly. All right. So your second quarter budget is on the back of the agenda and emailed out for those of you on Zoom. All I did was, I mean, everything's up to date, and I did just the projection for the murals. So you can see what the balance is from there, and then your discretionary budget. Is there anything, anybody that should be on there that I don't have on there? I don't think I'm missing anything, but unless sometimes I miss things. Should we be budgeting the upcoming pairings or no? Not so much. I did the big, since it's 20,000. Okay. But yeah, but I can definitely put those into. Okay, so that's that, pretty straightforward. Just a big reminder, if you have any content for Hello for the fall, which is October, November, December coverage, your deadline for content to me is July 7th.
Yeah.
So make sure of that, and then if you have upcoming events or anything, again, just the friendly reminder that you need to get with me sooner than later for supplies, for setup, for walkthrough, for floor plans, all that, the sooner the better. And then I think there was some question about mural lighting, and I'm assuming McCaslin. I checked with Leslie and our superintendent, and it is still indeed connected circuit wise to town hall. And they're willing to get quotes, but for right now, it's still just the tape over the sensor. But even if they get quotes, they're not sure if it would be in the budget for this year or not. But it's on their radar and we can continue to keep it on their radar if, it becomes problematic again in the holidays, because remember the holiday lighting was somewhat of a weird mix for that. Anyway, right now it's all on the same circuit.
Okay.
And that's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
Anyone on the screen with questions? Okay. All right, moving on to updates for the Marshall Fire Remembrance All Advisory Groups Subcommittee. We have the RFQ meeting. Drew, do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, we did. We had our RFQ meeting with town staff, with Jordan in particular. The changes were significant to what the committee had put together. There was just a lot of discussion about the various concepts being kind of primary and secondary or optional even. So there was a lot of discussion about how to formulate it. We also departure from what we had proposed. They had removed all of the stipends, which was interesting, and that's just a difference in policy between these big, kind of infrastructure projects versus what we're used to doing for CAPS. So we kind of always give the stipend to the finalists, but for the big town projects, it's just assumed that if you're a finalist, you chip in for your own budget to put the proposal together, which is great. It saves us some money. But anyway, we had some feedback for Jordan around a couple of things, some wording, strengthening certain areas of text, and she went back and reworked it a little bit. And JG, you sent me an email, which I read, but the bottom line is early next week, like maybe Monday or Tuesday, that's going to get posted.
Yeah, so, because the last part of the meeting, I think the group was interested in a press release going out. Just to make sure the message is loud and clear that we're looking for potential firms to apply into the RFQ. And so the plan is to post on Monday and press release out Tuesday.
And JG, I think one of the things that slowed us down was town wanting to make good and sure that there was no showstoppers on the open space. That got double checked.
Yeah, and from what I understand, no, but I can triple check for sure.
Okay. All right, that's all I had for Marshall Fire.
Right, thank you. Anybody with questions, comments? Okay. Neil, moving on to the Superior Rising Foundation, the 501c3.
Yeah, so everything should be in order. If anybody wants to make a donation, it'll be set up. We had a work session with the Historical Commission, I want to say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. I've lost track. Because they need sort of a vehicle as well to bring in donations. And the goal here is that there will be an avenue for folks to make donations. That could be, it could be prioritized towards art or towards the historical commission. So the nuts and bolts will get set up, but just bear in mind, if somebody wants to make a large donation, we will make it happen. So from here on out, we'll probably try to get things rolling in the fall so that we've got QR codes or whatever, so things can flow and work things out with town staff properly so that it can be accounted for. But I think at least in the historical commission meeting, Mark sort of said, as a town, we need to have a vehicle. In fact, we've got this legacy one that we can leverage. It's great. So for CAPS, SHC, it'll be ready and able. So if someone's got like a $10,000 donation they need to make tomorrow, we will find a way to make it happen.
That's so great, because I think with, the Marshall Fire Remembrance, when that design concept, to be able to fundraise around that, I think that's been a scary part.
Yeah, no, we can. There's still some nuts and bolts in terms of who's going to be on the new board and everything else, but guarantee that we are going to make it happen.
That's great. Excellent.
Neil, question on that. There was depending on how the paperwork was filed, there's like a 50K cap or something. Is that in place?
Yes, annual cap. You know, I think at this point, none of us are too worried about that, you know, if something large comes in. The 501c3 entity can take it, it's just, the IRS sets up an easy form if you think you're gonna be a smaller 501c3, so. The organization can still receive it, I think it's more of a best efforts sort of thing, so.
Okay.
No one's too concerned about, you know,
I guess
$500,000 donation comes our way.
that's what I'm wondering about because of the remembrance. What if
Yeah.
what if the price tag comes in around $500,000 and there's a big fundraising campaign or marketing firm that's hired to raise that money?
So I think in that case, we'll probably touch base with the Boulder Community Foundation. Since
Okay.
they're the big gorilla, they've got a lot of funds. They facilitated money to the town already, you know, post the fire. For something like that specifically, I think we probably need to just reach out to them in advance, just because they've got, you know, the technical know how to deal with that. They just take their 2 or 3%, but we'll figure that out. But I think, given, you're right, because at that large of a number, you probably need, you know, a professional organization that's not in. But we can try to reach out to that too, in parallel. It's a good question.
To the Boulder what?
The Boulder Community Foundation. Tatiana, I'm not sure it is, it's a CPO.
Okay, thanks. And then Neil, I thought I heard you say there's just still questions around who's actually on the board, so that there's still some shuffling to be done there.
Yeah, we still need to redo the board. That'll happen probably, I mean, it needs to happen yesterday, but it will happen. Because Jen and I have to get off.
And so just because I don't know.
Yeah.
Would the town help put that information out, or how does that information go out?
That's a good question. The Superior Rising had an IGA with the town, and we could probably leverage that, you know, in the way that.
What's an IGA?
Oh, sorry, intergovernmental agreement.
Thank you.
So the two work, or sort of, it's a formal way to just ensure that the two will work together. Louisville, they send out a little, you know, flyer with their water bill so people can donate to the Louisville library. And I think we can do something similar. Granted, no one gets a paper water bill, so it's not quite sure how we can get the message out. But it may be one of the, you know, monthly emails, we can sort of start sending people there, like if you'd like to donate to art or the historical commission, you can do that here. But yeah,
But what about serving on the board?
Oh, yeah, actually, we can probably do that too, because otherwise it's just gonna be word of mouth.
Yeah,
See who's
okay.
interested.
And those folks need to be external to CAPS and SHC?
External to CAPS, SHC, the board, so
Staff,
all of a sudden we're left with like, you know,
But-
4 people in town.
does staff,
3 of them are
would
married.
staff be able to attend just as
Oh,
like the
absolutely.
liaison?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like, let's throw all the people that wanna be part of it at it as quickly as possible.
Interesting.
Okay, how about former CAPS members?
Totally. Former board members, former CAPS members, absolutely. And I think that's a great sort of recruiting pool.
Andy.
Yeah.
I'm looking
She's
at
actually-
you. I'm looking at you, Suze.
She's moving to Louisville.
I am.
And that doesn't matter. It's not a town
Oh,
committee, so.
Okay.
Oh.
That's great.
Actually, the Superior Rising, one of the guys on Superior Rising board lives in Boulder. He used to live in Superior, but he lives in Boulder.
Any other questions, comments?
Drew, did you want to talk a little bit about the board meeting we had for the work session where we had to talk about murals? I should have intercepted this on the agenda, but I can talk a little bit about it here.
It's on there. It's number 3. Under
That's the one that we decided on Monday, but then at the work session,
oh,
I can bring it up in brief.
okay.
Yeah, that's
All right. We will move on to debriefings then. The drum circle, Suze.
It was a lot of fun, and I think that the community enjoyed it. I had several people ask me when the next one was going to be. Actually, everybody I talked to, I realized as people were arriving that there was a really big gap in terms of information about drum cycle and just the different skill level. I could tell, so I kind of changed my plan on the fly and slid back into teaching and turned into a workshop class. And so I had to just change that, but at the end, we changed patterns and all went around the circle. And I would invite you to ask someone who was there.
I was there, it was cool.
That was very subtle. Or no, somebody else shared.
Yeah,
photos.
someone from the town was there on comms, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter was there. I've got some photos I can share. Adria had a great time.
Yeah,
Right,
so, yeah,
how
thank
was
you.
it?
It was great, it was awesome.
What did you drum?
I don't even know, I am horrible at keeping a beat, so like,
No, I mean, like, what was your instrument?
I have 3 drums at home, so I brought them, and then my 2, like, I think my daughter came, my wife came,
Yeah.
they drummed. It was fun, you know, it was like, nice to just get out of your comfort zone, it's not something I would normally do, and like, trust me, like, my family didn't really wanna go, and like, they didn't, like, they enjoyed it, and it was fun, it was like spiritual and
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
cool.
It's very real. Like teens and tweens.
I think music does
Perfect.
that, and
Yeah.
people are afraid to make mistakes when they make music, and so it doesn't happen very often, but I like to concoct like an environment where that has to happen, that you choose to, because it kind of lowers people's guards, and I think that's gonna help us through this.
Well, thank you, Suze, for that wonderful day.
And thank you for your service on the committee, really, all the music stuff, I mean, it's really cool.
Well, that's you. Thank you.
All right, we don't have a report on the stained glass workshop because
I don't know, I just,
it happened, right?
yeah, it happened. You know, we have like historic, you know, camera stuff and it looked full.
Okay.
I don't know really anything else from that.
All
I
right,
didn't get a follow-up report from her, but I didn't get a follow-up, things were terrible either, so.
okay,
But I think, you know, I can say that, you know, as far as her supplies go, everything went well. I emailed the people who were registered multiple times and said we have a wait list, you know, did that, all that, because we've had issues with people not showing up, but it looked like it was a full house, so I think we're good.
great, okay. So now we will move on to the mural discussion, so Neil, do you wanna?
Well, I'll go back in time to the work session, where one of the items on the work session was, let's do more murals. And that was, Councilmember Miller, had written a little thing about murals and wants to see more murals. There's a big open question mark, there's a lot of private property in downtown. Like we've got a couple of tunnel underpasses, but most of the rest is private property. But the thought was, and you know, I think everyone's got a philosophical difference on what is art. Not all murals to me are art, some of them are just wayfinding. So, you know, a sign that says Superior isn't quite a mural to me, but you know, it's either here or there. But the thought was, you know, if we can do more things to bring more people into downtown, murals might be one of them. So the board would like to see more, well, some of the board would like to see more murals. So that was the mural discussion. Andrew was watching it real time, you know, so there's some thought to like, do we try to create something like Rhino or the Crush, and then we drop your name because you're like, well, Brandon knows people, let's just bring Brandon in here and give her some cans of spray paint. There's a whole, you know, thing we gotta figure out with the Metro District and private property, but that's the thought, like, hey, can we do more things like that? I don't know, that's kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, I hope everybody got a chance to I sent that time tagged link out. It was interesting. It struck me as slightly naive, sort of, you know, just because, you know, the board came up with it, and so now it's a great idea, and that's fantastic. I'm glad that the council is supportive, and that gives us a lot of leverage. But it was just the same old, you know, go paint more murals, which is great, and we've heard that a lot, right? But there's a lot, and we've learned that there's a chicken and egg with finding artists and finding places to paint, and how do you get the artist to draw a sketch to approve, you know, to present it to the, you know, the shop owner before you get the wall approved, and you know, there's all these issues, and where does the money come from, and working with the Metro District, you know, we've been down this road. How much do they cost? Do we have to source them for the big ones like we do for the tunnels, all that stuff. So we're well positioned, having figured this out, thanks to Brandon and Liza over the last year. And I was sort of like backseat driving a little bit, sending Neil these like, hey, we know how to do, tell them we know how to do this, we can help with this. And he was putting that in for us. So that's good. And now we just got to figure out, are they going to throw a bunch of money at us, or is that just more like a directive for 2026? Or are they going to form their own committee and try to make it happen, or knock down a bunch of these red tape hurdles for getting it in downtown Superior? So still a lot of questions.
No, I think those are really good questions. On the latter, I don't think, well, I don't think anyone's going to try to take anything away from CAPS in terms of the scope. And, I don't think anybody on the board wants to be in there, like, trying to decide what the bureau should go where. The question really is going to come down to the budget, and if some council members might want to direct the funds towards murals versus everything that CAPS has been doing for the last 5 years. I don't know what that might look like. I don't know if it'll be additive or in terms of like, here's an incremental additional money for murals in addition to everything that CAPS has been doing and already has scoped out. Or we don't care what you're doing, we only want to do murals in downtown. We'll have to wait to see. I mean, I'm obviously in the camp of, great, we'll do more murals and we'll add it on to everything else that CAPS is already planning on doing. Just give them more money.
Were you at the last meeting where we discussed paring down, you were our other? Yeah.
But in the context of that, this is where some of the board members may have philosophical differences. I actually think sculptures are a great art. Like, I don't think murals should supplant the work that's already going forward on sculptures and other things. Like, murals are not the one and done type of art out there. It's a form, right? It's a singular form. And I don't want us to distract from everything else that's already underway. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of comes forward with the board as it relates to the budget on that side.
How do we like introduce someone from like Streetwise that's already happening in Boulder to like the city, like Leah, like would she just contact someone and say like, hey, like I'm already curated? No, she's the curator of Streetwise murals in Boulder. So like if we wanted to, like, we had a couple walls and we wanted her to like throw those walls into her circle of artists because she's already curating a whole festival in Boulder. And then if like it would just be like, I don't know if we have to pay her.
So you're saying get her,
like how do we introduce
her to lead a mural program?
It would be like how we're trying to piggyback off of Sundance. We would try to piggyback off of Streetwise.
Sure.
Like they're already doing it.
But we would be utilizing her to identify locations and make it happen? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so if you go to her Instagram, like for Streetwise, they have like, we're looking for walls, we're looking for volunteers. It's like a week-long festival, and
I see.
And so like she brings in artists from around the nation to come and paint in Boulder.
But they would stay, the murals would stay.
Well, you can rotate them over time too. Like people get painted over, like just because you painted a mural, it lasts for like 5 years and you run out of walls and you repaint it. But like, I don't know what the town really wants, because there's a town in Arkansas called Fort Smith, which has like international murals and people actually go there to look at the murals. And it's like a travel destination. Or do you just want like your neighborhood, neighborhood people to paint their own murals? Like if you want like international artists to come, I'm not even sure like they're even coming for Streetwise, really. I mean, because like people do come for Streetwise, they look around, they see the murals, but so I would just have to know more about like what the intention is. Because if it's about like creating like public like murals, like where the public are participating in the murals themselves, versus it being like we want this like celebrity artist to come and make us like a cool mural that people are gonna want to see out.
From the gist of the meeting, it sounded like just make sort of the big thing I took away was making the metro district look less sterile. That was what stuck with me. Like I liked that. I was like, yes, yeah, it is sterile. Like more funky and artsy and welcoming and colorful. And so I don't know that it was necessarily about bringing the community and just like making the space more inviting.
Or both, like bring the community, bring professionals.
Yeah. the community. What, to like fill in spots? I mean, that works, like they sketch it out. And
It can go a lot of different ways. That's why, I mean, the Rhino's in the process of hiring a new mural curator. And so like, it's probably gonna be someone that comes from Miami that actually gets the job. And like,
But they have alleys and they have so many places to do murals.
yeah,
And I guess if we could figure it out, then yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
well, someone like Leia's already doing it in our county, so I feel like that would be someone to just bring onto the team. I just don't know. She wouldn't join CAPS, right? Like, 'cause
could she come to a meeting and we could pick her
I think
brain?
so. I mean, I feel like that should be like totally into that, because
How do you start the discussion with the owner of a private building?
you say, listen, like, our town is interested in having more murals and we need help. Like, would you like to help? Or maybe she's too busy, but like,
But would she know that, I mean, that we'd be dealing with privately owned buildings?
well, she already knows that that's what she's doing already in Boulder.
Mhm.
Like, the city's just not giving her a bunch of walls, like, she has to, like, you know,
Kind of
knock on doors.
Get them, yeah,
Yeah, like, she's been doing it for over 5 years already,
yeah, so she knows the ins and outs.
and she knows how to get things, like, she's not gonna paint like something super provocative on your wall, like, if in Boulder, like, it's like, you know, agreeing to it, like, she knows what people want.
Yeah, I think bringing in people who might be able to put, a few, hey, we're gonna have 3 services in downtown, just put on the list. In parallel, we reach out to Carmel and the downtown district and say, hey, you need to clear the red tape on your side to allow us to make this happen. Like, cause we got another complaint from everything the Metro District and Carmel does. So, hey, here's an opportunity to be ready by this date.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And I have a procedural question, which maybe you can answer. So the big mural, we went through this process with this, submissions. Do we have to do that? Or, since Brandon suggested this person, can we just invite them in and decide to work with them? Or is there some formal
And
process?
that's part of what we've talked about before, it depends on where your price tag is, because there's a bidding,
Okay.
there's
So
a
under
bidding process.
X dollar amount,
Yeah,
we
no,
have
yeah.
pretty much free
'Cause
rein?
yeah, I mean, that's why it's tough for government, because normally that's called an invitational situation, where you're just simply inviting somebody to come do something that, when you're dealing with tax dollars and, we have to go through the bidding process most of the time, and that's why we do the RFQ, RFP, all of that. But there could be, I'm not sure if there's other way around it, but that's the norm.
And that gets into the sort of the nexus of this, right? Because like in Boulder, it's not tax dollars that are being used to pay people, right? But the board here is like, the board is asking to spend tax dollars and that creates the rub, right? The board wants this to happen because downtown is struggling, so let's throw some tax dollars at it. But if we got the Metro District or Carmel, hey, let's leverage what's happening in Boulder. You work with them and get this stuff paid, right? And that's a great question, it's chicken and egg in terms of who does stuff first. Right,
Okay.
so
It wasn't that hard. It was kind of fun to jury all those
Oh, that was great.
submissions,
Yeah.
so we can just do that again.
You do it yourself.
Right, because that's the other part, because the other thing that Boulder does, and remember, how I've told you that I go to quarterly meetings with all of my counterparts in the region, and we share lists, and there's this giant list that we've all kind of shared, and it's mural artists that have worked with government. They know the protocol, they know the paperwork, they know all the stuff. And they're all really good, and most of all the muralists that have applied to ours are on that list anyway. And so there is a way to like just go through that list and have them send quotes. Like, what would you charge us to do this? So that kind of covers that same bidding process without going through the RFQ part. But if you just say, this is the space, how much would it cost? They send a quote, an estimate. You can even have them do a presentation of previous work. Similar
There's different ways.
steps, but then you could choose without as many steps.
Like, for instance, like Leia paid me $500 to paint him and like gave me free spray paint, and it took me like a day. So I just went out there, So I think for something as low as $500, we don't really need to get approval.
I'll just give you the 500.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So like if it was something,
Levels.
yeah, so if there was something where like Leah came to a meeting for like 30 minutes to explain like what she does and do a little presentation. It could be like, here's $20,000. We want like 5 murals. She's obviously gonna want to take a cut for like her time and stuff, right? And then like she buys the paint and she finds the artist. And then the benefit of working with Streetwise is just to be on the map that they've already created so that you get people that are interested in murals coming to your town. Because like we just do it on our own, and the way that I've been seeing like marketing happen with our social media and stuff, like people might never hear about it, right? So like if you do want more people to hear about it, piggybacking on something else that's already happening with a map and artist names, things like that, will bring more people. But at the same time, you can do murals for not as much as you think. They don't have to be $20,000. They can be $1,000.
Yeah.
And you can get really cool artists because they're already like they're local, you know. And it's not like when you present it as a job, they're gonna all think it's a job and they're gonna want like all this money. But if it's like a festival kind of vibe, then it's more like people will pay for free. Really, it's like playing music for free or going to like
Psychology of the mural artists.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I've been in a mural for one of the richest art collectors in Miami, which was Tony Goldman, and he doesn't pay anybody. And he gets all these people to come from around the world, and he pays for their ticket in their hotel. But he's printed 5 books. Like I'm in like 5 huge books. So like, and he has people like Shepard Fairey and like international artists. So like he does it and pays no one.
But he's not government.
Right.
No, it's private. Yeah, and the thing that happens in Fort Smith, it was a real estate person who funded the project to make his real estate value go up. So it was like it's strategic. I mean, now Wynwood's like really expensive.
So when will we know what our budget number is?
You won't, like, I think,
We won't.
I think one option, and I think you've already submitted a budget, but it could be, hey, we want to do a mural fest next year. Here's a 15,000 we think we need. We'll work with Streetwise. We'll bring on a handful of artists because the board wants us to do this. Like, I think
That would be easy for the year after next year, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I think Streetwise.
or it could be an add-on to,
Even though that's what I was gonna say, even though they've already submitted kind of a projected
Yeah.
budget for 2026. Just based on some conversations last month, now, next month, they could kind of maybe change that up, right?
Yeah.
Keep the number the same, but potentially change it up if they wanted, or add on to it.
my feeling is the safest thing is to add on and just say, hey, we submitted the budget, we heard the work session. We'd love to do another, X thousand for a mural fest to support what the work session direction was. And, I think the thought was like a mural fest like event. That's what the council wants to do. Then, ask for more money.
So that was like one last little thing was this thing called Blink Cincinnati, which is where my buddy just curated it last year, and it's like every 2 years they do it. And how they do it, it's actually the biggest tourism draw in Cincinnati, this mural festival. It raises like $2 million for like Cincinnati. But they use projectors on the walls and they do a whole film thing. And maybe because Sundance is coming, that is like a double whammy if the murals incorporate some sort of video projection thing and they're like animated. And I think
So they're not painted, they're animated.
they're both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're both. Like animators come and animate like the mural, like so you're like pairing up animators and muralists.
Cool.
And like so like one of my friend John was the curator for Blink Cincinnati last year, and like they have huge promotional videos and things that I can like send an email out or something if you guys want to see about it. But it's the #1 tourist like occasion, like more than like a Bengals like football.
Yeah, I saw one
That's our thing.
when I was in Germany. And they did that where they animate the entire fronts of buildings and it's.
I've seen that done in Chicago. It's like
Yeah.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's really-
Do they keep these things going?
No, it's just like a week-long festival thing. It's like the same sort of thing. They come in, they set up, there's music and food trucks and things and.
Cause the number of projectors is just astronomical.
I guess I would
It's a
have to see
massive
it, I'm not
setup.
sure I'm picturing. right.
Yeah,
So should we invite Leah to
That would
come
be the
to our
easiest
next
one.
meeting? I mean, we can just do that, invite, I mean, I'm just procedurally, I'm just.
Brandon, what is your thought, is that, inviting her without any knowledge of what we would have available, or would it be good to have a few options and then decide, or what do you think?
I mean, we can meet with her, like, on the mural committee and pick her brain and just see like,
It'd be good to have some a staff member present though, of some sort. Like, somebody who knows, so you don't go down a wormhole of potential locations.
yeah, I wouldn't even give her any locations. It's just more of like what she would want out of it. Like,
Oh.
you know, and like that sort of thing. And like, maybe she's not even interested. I mean, I can make a phone call, and find out before we even meet with her in person, but. And I think she would be interested because she's been trying to grow this festival since it started, and I think it's like, you know, she enjoys it.
I'd love to hear what her process is, and if, we say, so, this is what we're kind of thinking about, but we have no idea at this point if we have, what the places are, because a lot of them are on private land and we have to get the developer, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, she, like you said, she probably has already had experience with some of that
I mean,
stuff.
every mural in Boulder is probably done by that festival.
Wow.
Yeah, there's one on their city hall, there's one on the library, there's some on Pearl Street, it's all through Streetwise.
We could paint this building. I mean,
I,
what's public?
yeah, if
Yeah.
it's our building, we can do whatever we want. We just don't own that many buildings.
Just go
Right.
slow.
Yeah,
And most of them are like brick.
yeah, that's right. Brick's not ideal, I guess. So I've heard.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like hijack that one item. I just wanted to give you guys an update of kind of what the board was thinking about in the work session. I think there's generally, as far as if you watch it, I don't think anybody on the board is going to say, no, we don't want any more murals. It's just a function of how do you squeeze this in with everything else that Caps is already working.
And what I'm noticing right now for festival is from the 26th to the 27th of September. So we could potentially get something done this year. If we wanted to.
Would have to move very quickly.
I mean, she's already doing it, that's the benefit. It's just like, hey, like, these walls are available, the artists are gonna be approved.
Given the metro district, it's a heavy lift.
Right.
But, not everyone, they say they want to do stuff, so. And if the board says we should go do this and the metro district standing in the way, it's that.
And maybe it helps that it's already been approved in Boulder County.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a festival that's happening like down the street. If this isn't like some startup.
We can do it in Boulder, why can't we do it here?
Isn't the metro district a lot of brick too though? I mean, where's the concrete?
There's not,
Oh, okay.
there's like a couple of stairwells or, side of the sports stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're still, they were wanting to do a mural there of their own.
On the sports table, yeah.
Well, the credit union was wanting to.
Yeah.
And then I just never heard back.
They put a big sign, call it done.
And most of the businesses down there are rentals, right? I mean, Boulder Baked might love to have a mural on their side of the building, but it's not theirs.
So, I mean, we need to touch base with Carmel. What I can do is I can at least reach out to staff like Matt and Martin and our business development person, she's new. I think Carmel, get this cleared so that we can allow this to proceed.
I don't know if we could do all that by September.
I don't either, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't want the onus to be on Caps and staff when the obstacle is external.
What about Bricksmore? Is that what it's called?
Breaks more with the place.
Where like Whole Foods is?
Or even if we wanted to do like the buildings on out by the field.
Village.
Yeah,
Where it's just like, hey, this is like what we can do now.
right.
And like, we're looking forward to working with her in the future, like on some bigger projects, but
And they really they had a graffiti issue with the back of the.
Oh, yeah, that was one of my suggestions, that building. And then also, there's like that cool retaining wall between the North Pool and Superior Elementary that like kind of goes like this, do you know what I'm talking about? That would be really cool.
Yeah.
For, you know,
Brandon, why don't you, ask Leah how we get involved,
yeah,
in that, and like what she needs from us, and then we can sort of.
yeah, I'll come back at the
Figure it
next
out.
meeting
Yeah.
with some information.
Maybe just do a walk through downtown with her, just to see if she even thinks there's potential.
Yeah, I mean, this is what she's looking for, like a new walls,
Yeah.
you know.
There's definitely some there.
Yeah, and also a community that wants to help fund it, that's, however, work is mostly just fundraising.
And I mean, we do have a little bit of budget left, right? I mean, that.
The
If,
remaining number here,
yeah, that if we were able to get mural artists to come in and do the festival stuff for 500 a pop, and there were 3 or 4 of them, I mean, that's doable, right?
A good Andrew question.
Did the rentals come out of this budget already, the sculpture rentals?
Not yet,
No.
that's at the end of the year.
And that, cause I don't feel like that's expensive.
That's like 2,000 a piece.
Oh, that's
for
it,
two
for the
of them.
whole year?
For 2 of them, or was it 2,500? I forget.
Yeah, total of 5K. And yes, I mean, we need to talk and soon about art acquisition and placement for this year. We've got a pretty big the budget JG just sent out. We got 40K remaining, and a big chunk of that is just this art acquisition thing that we've hardly talked about. And we could probably pivot to muralage if that is, the low hanging fruit. But it's up for this committee to decide, right? I mean, that's what we do. So if somebody may have their passion may be a sculpture they have in mind, or buying Coyote Hawk or whatever, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about that.
We also have this really great civic center, right? Like there could be like a curatorial show or something of like canvases, like that go with the murals. That's what I'm saying, like to have some sort of.
Or a mural could get painted on the inside.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, these are cool things that could probably happen relatively quick. Yeah,
As long as we align with whatever the cost is with the the protocol. But I'm hearing you're under that, making it quick and easier. That works too.
And what happened at the town council meeting on Monday?
well, they approved our idea of having the foxes go in the tunnel and pay the entire 20K to make another fox, essentially.
Unanimous.
unanimous, that's good.
Excellent.
Was council member Serbu being funny or serious about the geese?
Oh, you weren't on yet. He was talking earlier in the meeting about Lucky, the baby goose that he saved, but so he had this long goose story and about how people are sending him pictures of Lucky now that he's thriving, and because he was saved by Jason Serbu, and then so later he made the comment about fox being
And predators
to
he was joking.
Okay, I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either for a while. I was like, I know they're painted.
Liza had missed that too, so afterwards, was like, okay, here's the context of what that was about. It was funny.
All right, well, thanks everybody who was there in the room. I appreciate that. That was well done.
Yeah, thanks for the quick pivot, because we were way ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mark texted me, and I'm going.
That, I don't think I've ever seen such little to no public
It
comment.
was summertime, everybody's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be.
I couldn't believe
With
it.
the pool discussion, I thought there would be like, I thought there would be public comment or something, but probably not.
We can do anything we want this summer, because no one's watching. Come back from summer vacation. Like, what'd you do?
What happened? What I did?
So do we have kind of a game plan then for like the murals? You're gonna,
I'll reach out and
Okay.
see, get a feel of like how to sort of expand our like portfolio here.
And I'll keep things going with our town staff on the Metro District and, Mass Martin, and everybody on board. If the board, the council really wants this to happen, we need them to be fully aligned yesterday.
I think it would be really cool, like I said, to just you and her do a walkthrough and see if she thinks there's potential, and then have her in. We lost Chris. And have her in, and that way she's already been here and kind of show what she could vision.
Mhm.
What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I
It'd
feel
be
like,
really cool.
I agree.
I feel like if she got a chance to like send you guys, like give you guys a little presentation, your guys would be like, minds would be blown. Like she's been doing this for a long time.
Could she do that and after, like,
Yeah.
meet with you, come and do a presentation
Yeah.
and then talk to the group about what she sees as potential here?
Yeah,
I think that'd be great.
that makes sense. And I'll try to get that before our July meeting.
Okay.
All right. Moving,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Can you ask if she would require, like a small fee for both of those tasks?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's not necessary to
But I
like,
wanna value her time at the same time if it's her.
I mean, if you wanna tell me what to tell her, I can, but like, I'm not gonna be like, what would you want? And like, you know, I don't know. Like,
Does she
she,
normally
like,
charge
this is
for
part of
that
the business
consulting?
of doing
Yeah.
business, is
Yeah, the
like,
networking.
is
yeah.
networking, and
Okay.
I wouldn't come to her if I didn't think the opportunity was worth it for her. Like, I see there's potential, and I think, like, she trusts me, and we have like a relationship, so
Okay.
like,
I just didn't know if she had a consulting fee, and if so, it's good for me. to
she
get
will
that.
once it happens, you know, and she would like, and I mean, there's other people too, I mean, if you really wanted to like. There's people in Denver that do the same thing, but, and they might have a different consulting fee, but I think this makes the most sense because it's in our academy. And if there is a map and then like Superior could be on it, I think that is super sweet. And I mean, we're gonna go into Superior pairings now. And we still have one open that we haven't figured out for September, and if October, if this sort of starts to happen by then. Maybe it's something that has to do with like the film, because I was thinking about film before we brought in the Streetwise, but because we're also talking about Sundance. Maybe the October one has something to do with like, maybe it's a director or something.
Denver Botanic Gardens has a film branch too.
There you go, so something to kind of like get going in that direction before next year. And on like but. So drawing advertisement well, I suppose. I mean, I don't think anyone left any feedback.
No,
But
we actually forgot to mention that at the beginning and. Yeah,
How many people showed up?
10 or maybe more, yeah.
And that's a little less than.
Which
the first one?
I thought it was good, cause it's summer.
And it was gray, like an hour before the talk. I thought it was gonna be stormy.
It was great.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's just more of like, in my opinion, like our reach to the public, like how to, I mean, I don't know, I go back and forth on like what the intention is, like, do we want a bunch of people coming here for a talk, or is it just for our community? Like, when you do like a dance night for the high school kids, it's like just this high school kid, like these high school kids, it's not like you want people from Boulder coming and people from Broomfield coming, like, so I just don't know. When I was working in the museum, attendance was a way to judge how successful an event was, but that was just by my director wanting people in the room. But like, I feel like it still could be successful, not having a huge crowd, just by who's being involved. Like, I think Don's like an amazing artist, and having him come to our town and do a talk, it's a shame people missed it, in my opinion, right? So like, I don't know if it's gonna be a numbers game, like, then we definitely need to like spend some money on promoting it. But,
Well, I mean, say Boulder does something like this.
CU does a lot of.
Are we invited? We wouldn't be excluded because we're from Superior, right? For free events, and they're not checking IDs. So,
Well, I think he's just meaning like more about marketing if
Yeah.
these are, if that's our goal.
Yeah, like I tried on my social media, they tried on their social media, they're like based in Denver. You know, I feel like some people might have come from Denver, someone came from Berthoud, like. You know, like, I don't know, I think the next one will probably be really good, like. Packed, and then the one after that might not be.
with those talks too, I think it's the subject matter, so you know what I mean, that people are like,
Yeah,
if they're interested in it or not, and we have to kind of find our audience and how to market to them.
Yeah,
It's been something, marketing has been something Superior struggled with as long as I've lived here. And Mayor Lacis's attempt, you know, so Hello Superior, I think was kind of his baby to try to get physical calendars into people's hands. And, Louisville does all kinds of stuff that the same thing. We wouldn't be turned away. A lot of it's free, some stuff out in their park. And do you hear about it? Do you know about it? Do you put that stuff on your calendar, right? I mean, how do you have that reach? It's a hard
We
question.
get the Leaguesville.
Yeah.
I'm signed up
But I,
for.
but I also think, to Susan's point, it's what people are interested in, because we have workshops that fill immediately with a massive waiting list, and then we have some that don't. So I think it's also what appeals to people.
I think things might change too when we start having them at the Civic Center. I mean, there's people that live in walking distance that will just wanna like walk over. There's also a lot of stuff going on, where else there's, like you were saying before last meeting, that the city has a ton of events, like all week long, every week. So adding one more event, it might just be, for us, it's once a month, once every 2 months, but for them, there's something going on every week.
Or they might be going to something last night and they're going tomorrow and they're taking a break tonight.
Yeah,
We do
absolutely.
that stuff almost every day on the town calendar or the community center calendar.
But so, yeah, one of the ideas, I guess, is just for the last one, maybe having a film, but we'll figure it out, but we only have
We'll
until
talk
July
offline,
7th.
right, we have to talk quick. We will talk quickly. Okay. All right, we're moving on to work plan check-in. So for the Superior Pairings number 4 on August 26th, we have the Philharmonic and the ballet are absolutely confirmed. They're both sending reps to visit the civic space to see it and just get a better idea of what they will do in that space. And then JG and I are gonna have lots of work to do with figuring out the sound system and the setup and all that fun stuff, but that's in progress.
I went to the grand opening, and one of the things I learned is that there's not a lot of chairs up there. Neil, I don't know if you wandered around, but we're gonna need chairs. And they said, oh, no, there's no chairs. If you have a wedding up here, you gotta bring your own chairs or something, which kind of, they said there's a lot of storage, and we know that's a problem.
JG just said I got you, so we're good.
So that, and you are correct, and a lot of that was based on a limited budget to furnish civic space. And there's there'll be plans, I think, to have more by next year. Either way, we can either run into some from here or we can rent some. Butler Rents doesn't charge that much for a gaggle of chairs.
Okay.
So we'll be okay. But thank you for bringing that up, Drew, because you're right. There's not very out there, but for there.
Okay. Moving on to Rainworks, Drew, do you want
Yeah. Okay. Unless Andrew has any other comments you want to make, but I think that is on my assignment to connect with the pool staff, which I did, and I have desired hours for both North and South Pool from the person who sort of heads up all aquatics for the town. So I have days of the week and time frames that work best. She loves the idea of rain works being on deck, literally. So she's pretty excited about it, but she does prefer that Caps works through me than her, and she already gave me hours, like I said. And then as far as supplies go, it's been a little bit of a challenge because I have kind of figured out that Rainworks is kind of a mom and pop shop online. They have a website, they have it all, but setting up tax exempt and payment has been a bear. And then the person I checked in because I was like, I've got no notification that the supply, because basically I had to send a check. And as soon as they got the check, they would send the supplies, and I've heard nothing. So I checked in, and our CEO is the only one who can check our mail, and he's been out of the country, and he'll be back next week. So I don't know if we've gotten your check. That's what they told me, and I was like, okay. So as soon as CEO gets back, we'll know if the check is in the mail.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have supplies yet.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're gonna do this ourselves. I'm on board for stencil work. Susan has volunteered, I think. Sherry pending health. Anybody else jumping up to paint some sidewalks?
Do it.
All right. Liza eagerly
There.
volunteers.
Invisible mural painting.
We're doing the dinosaur prints at the pool? Is that?
No, Sherry picked out some really fun stencils. I think one of them is like, "You are awesome."
Yes.
You know, it's just some really cute. So yeah, y'all could decide. And you know, obviously not the hopscotch one, but probably any of the others.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so let us know, because I think as soon as we have the stuff, we should just go out and do it. Summer is moving along.
It is, and I'm really bummed about the supply situation. I was trying not to giggle when she told me that.
So the next thing on the check-in is mural management.
Didn't we kind of we talked about that already? We're good?
We're good.
Okay. Next item, artwork plaques.
Yeah, that's mostly me, so I'm going to work with Dalton. I think for the last status was that both the Historical Commission and CAPS liked the ideas I proposed, and it was kind of up to me and Dalton to come up with some design, and we would just more or less do it. And that hasn't happened yet, but I've got a little more time these days, so I'll start with Dalton.
All right. Right, quickly.
I don't mind that at all. Okay, next discussion item, we have a neighborhood sponsorship application pending for the South Seabird Court July 4th float. Did everybody have a chance to look at it? Did anyone see it?
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
you didn't see it? Okay, so it's basically, seems like a very reasonable request. Every year the neighborhood does a float building, and of course, they're saying the expenses get bigger every year, so they want a little assistance. So they're basically asked, they have a budget for firehouse subs for one lunch for $200, Costco runs with snacks and drinks for $800, and wood, nails, paint, decorations, etc. for $1,000. But they're asking us for only $300 for that.
Seabird Court has won the float parade.
Oh, have
They
they?
have won, they've got that plaque on their.
They have a sign. Yeah, it's fantastic. And these guys, this is in the best spirit of this neighborhood sponsorship program. I mean, those guys, they're out there doing this. It's a good community building thing. It's pretty great. I actually was tempted to walk down there and suggest that they do this, but I didn't have to, which is good.
Okay, they did it. All right. I mean, so
It's a July 4th.
yeah.
At the parade.
Right. So
And people are getting good at filling these applications out, and these guys in particular, right? But they listed thousands of dollars of what they're contributing, but only asked us for the limit of the program and talked about the in-kind contributions and stuff. So this is one of the best applications we've gotten.
Agree. If no one has any questions or comments, we can do a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve this Seabird Court neighborhood sponsorship.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Okay. Unanimous approval. Thank you, Chris. All right, I will notify them tomorrow.
And I forgot. Remember if that's a reimburse or
Well, they'll need to submit the receipts and
I
everything.
can't, well, I know the first level, the lowest level one is a credit card, gift card. I was just looking to see, I'll talk to you after, Cause if I need to run and get a credit card, I will.
Okay, all right. So I will let them know that they were unanimously approved. Okay, the last thing on the official agenda is the RCP mural payment budget vote. The Rock Creek Parkway, so we have to like 1,000. So do we need to officially vote to just as a group? I mean, it's in your budget. I don't know.
I already did that last time.
Did we?
It's gonna pass, we can fully vote again.
Already passed.
Yeah, I think
Just to make sure it's on record that everybody's in agreement that it's going towards that. I mean, it's in your budget, but.
We approved that we were gonna send it to the council.
That's what I think thought too.
Yeah,
But
so
it
we
was-
need to reapprove that you. Okay.
Drew, I might have messed up the agenda. I'm not sure. This is me because I was supposed to be taking care of the agenda.
Have you ever done a formal budget approval? I mean, it's in your budget for the year. It's earmarked.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in making a motion to approve Hillary for 20K for the Rock Creek Parkway mural, and then we could vote on it, make it official.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Spending
money,
can we do it by hands, JG? Yeah.
Usually it's roll call for money.
This includes every cost besides lighting. Right? This is to pay the artist,
Right.
that includes the insurance, the scaffold, the lighting, or not the lighting.
Everything.
The whole thing.
Graffiti guard, everything.
The lighting, that's gonna be.
That's separate.
Next year.
Okay. And then we have the rights to hopefully maybe make a cool shirt or something next year.
We could really go off with those foxes.
Yeah, the Fox merch.
Fox merch, yeah, superior.
Superior.
Get rid of the prairie dogs and go for Fox. Ready for a roll call vote? Andrew,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Liza,
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yes.
Suze,
Yes.
Chris.
There it is. All right.
I'm here.
We approved the approval. We're good. Okay. Is this the quickest CAPS meeting in the history of?
I think, Andrew, you had a 7 o'clocker once, didn't you?
Did I? I don't know. I think she might have set a record.
All right. Wow. Do we ask for any other business or I mean, we just?
I mean, if there is any other business, you can.
We are so ahead of schedule.
No, I mean, I'm really happy with the way everything's coming out with the YouTube. I was really super surprised today. In the worst case scenario, if we don't have this figured out by July 7th, they just don't make the paper. And I mean, I don't think Don and Daisy did anyways on the last one, so like.
We can still do a placeholder for the event, right? Then,
Like if we know by.
we know we have the date.
What we could do is do, the big for, the next one.
Yes.
And then, save the date and have like the topic and the date and the location, but maybe nothing else, for sure, absolutely. And then that probably takes some pressure off of it.
Yeah, I mean, just because if we have a lot of things going and if it ends up being a film thing, that's one thing, a mural thing, or something completely.
Right.
And I mean, since we're early, I do have something that I wanted to just kind of throw out there, and we started talking about it at the last meeting. So I spoke with Stephanie yesterday, and we kind of officially shelved the.
That's my watch, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We officially shelved the geocaching because it's ending up being just like super complicated, like complex, and then we were going, well, is this what we want to be doing and where we want to be going? So I kind of wanted to have a little bit more at some point of a philosophical conversation. I mean, Chris, digital stuff, what do we want to do? Monumental stuff, we have the foundation coming up, so just talking about our direction, and I don't know if that foundation is going to change how we operate. I mean, Neil, is that a possibility?
I don't think it should.
So that the committees, the historical and CAPS will still exist
Yeah, I mean,
separately and the
for
foundation?
now, like, I mean, any sort of re-architecture of that is on TBD, but I don't see that changing. From a foundation's perspective, it's gonna be arm's length to the town. So however much money it may raise, will just get shoehorned to do two different things.
Okay, all right.
But like what the town wants to do with the different committees, that's really not the subject. It's anyone's brought up with this.
Okay, all right. I think it's a good thing to think about, because once it's up and running, then at that point,
Right.
CAPS themselves or the town may say, oh, wait a minute, we've got overlap, or, or one could morph, or who knows? Like, it might be interesting to see what that turns into.
I have a question, like, are we only looking for outdoor sculptures? I did notice the giant flower by the front door. Like, are we interested in indoor sculpture?
I think maybe at like civic space, there's not a lot of town-owned
Sculpture.
property for indoors, but
What if someone wanted to donate something, like, would we just run that?
flower was donated. That was like a gift to the residents post, it's a Marshall Fire inspired piece. So it was donated by the artist.
So if I had someone that had like a $5,000 sculpture and there's like, hey, I'm looking for a place to put this, just kind of like add that as an agenda item?
Yes, so that the group can review it and decide.
Anyone online want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm over here. Nobody can throw tomatoes at me if I ask about Coyote Hawk. We've got, what we're gonna do with the acquisition and placement budget for the remainder of the year. And I think even in the council discussion of the murals, they actively mentioned disappointment in the placement of Coyote Hawk. And I think we're kind of in agreement on that one, right? So we've got the question of whether we renew the leases for Silencio and Coyote Hawk this year, which is $5,000, and then the placement of both. And I'll just say, I'll go on record personally, I like where Silencio is near my house. Pink flowers that have come up around it are phenomenal. I like it, but not so much with Coyote Hawk. There's something about the way it's turned. When you drive past it, you just can't, it doesn't give its effect like it's supposed to with the changing perspectives. You really have to be on foot. It's kind of low in those bushes. I don't feel like that's a home run. And I don't know. So there's a question to the group, is like, do we move it? Do we try to put it back where we originally found it? Are we willing to spend $10,000 to put it somewhere else? Or do we just tell Joe it's not working out? We're not going to renew it this year and see what happens? Or does anybody have any thoughts on Coyote Hawk and what it is? It's how much it costs to put it in unsatisfactorily. I don't know that it needed to cost that much. I mean, Silencio went in for a lot less.
Have you guys noticed driving to Golden, there's two more, right?
Yeah.
And they're sort of kind of hard to see.
A little bit, but I feel like they're easier to see than Coyote Hawk even. I mean, you shouldn't be turning your head, which you do have to do when you're driving by, but you can make them do their thing.
The trail at the end of this street, Colton, like, would that be a better location?
We proposed that and the group didn't want it.
It was like the corner of Town 15 was where we had talked about it, but there was some.
What if it got placed into the area by where we were saying about the creek over here?
Do you think that is soccer fields?
Like between the soccer field and
The creek that Chris mentioned.
yeah, the creek that Chris liked to curate some stuff by.
And then I guess there's a question, one of the reasons that the install was so expensive is because it's not ours. And so Joe did the engineering and had someone he got the stone from, right?
Yeah,
So,
And then the concrete pad and like the
so
whole thing.
if we bought it, then it would be ours and we could just get the telehandler ourselves and drive it down Colton with a couple of traffic cones or whatever and put it where we need.
We use that crane.
Fire up the crane.
I'm driving down Colton. It's like Mater from, what is that cartoon?
Ours.
Yeah, from Cars.
Yeah.
Would the council be upset if we were like, okay, we put it in this place, it cost us 10,000, but in order to fix this, we decided to buy it?
Well, I mean, I do think two things, Brandon. I mean, it's a very good question, and you know, frankly, I think we made a mistake. But I think the sculpture is very cool. I still believe that it's, you know, a very cool sculpture, and the location will always be there. So, you know, we can put something else there, something bigger, something more fitting. I don't know, you know, but that's always we could do something rotating like Lafayette does. We could, you know, put pieces on loan in that spot just to showcase them to that side of town. And it is still on ARTery endpoint. So
We should
I
find a-
don't necessarily think any of that stuff is wasted, but I'm not sure it's effective as it is now.
Yeah, so Andrew, are you saying that it would be better to potentially purchase it before potentially moving it?
That is just something I'm throwing out there. I'm actually not sure we could afford it, maybe just barely this year if we really wanted it bad enough. But because it was what, 26, 28K or something? And
Yeah,
we've now,
but you've got a couple years of
and we've paid 5,000 to it.
yeah.
That's what so it's just barely, it'd be, I don't know, 20K, 22K or something we'd need to buy it, which would be, that would resolve our question of what we're doing with our acquisition budget this year, because that would be it.
With the lease each year, does that take money off the purchase price?
It's
So
lease to own.
okay, so if you take the can a year off and then we find a new home for it, because I don't think the board would begrudge the fact that you tried to put it downtown and it hit a brick wall physically, like, and that created where it went. And now we've got a permanent pad on Indiana that we can, like you said, install other art and maybe Coyote Pop goes back into downtown or wherever it goes. Because I'm of the same opinion. It's a weird piece to have in the roadway. It's one that you need to like walk up to slowly, and driving by, it's just kind of. So the Silencio works differently. So I think from the board's
There's an
perspective,
elegance to that one.
yeah, and I think just, you know, every art piece is different. So I don't think the board would be too sad if we bought it and built a new pad somewhere in downtown, because I think that would work. Because I think now things are rolling a little bit more with downtown. We know what the Metro District is, and or at least who to call. So.
And Andrew, the other thing too is I like the idea of leaving the concrete pad that Joe Norman poured, because at the end of the day, the pad is the same exact size as the ones that we had made that were putting out places. So that was an eye roll for me once I saw the size of the pad he poured.
Right. And we had talked years ago about doing some kind of, you know, North Glen style rotating art type project, and maybe, you know, maybe that pad and one or two others like it is our toe in the door for doing some kind of revolving art project, you know, just.
It gives us a little bit of direction to knowing how Silencio works, because it's tall.
Yes.
And so we can specifically seek out a piece that we feel like will sort of do what Silencio.
And there was.
We want to use that back.
Right, and you know, there was a request to get more of the junipers out from Coyote Hawk, and I thought it was gonna be all of them, and it was just some of them, and it still didn't help. But then in a side conversation with Andrew, I think we both were in agreement that even with all of the junipers out, it's still the same issue. You know, I don't like right now that the junipers hide a portion of it as you're driving up, but even if they were away, that optical illusion thing is still missing a little bit. So
The day we installed that, it was so cold.
yeah,
But he had already, like, by the time I got there, he had already like craned it in and the crane was gone. And yeah, I feel like there was missed opportunity there somehow to sort
there
of
was.
mock
Remember?
drive.
We both showed up and he was already halfway done. Yeah, and Andrew and I were like, what? Wait. So we didn't even really have a say on the angle.
But I wasn't worried about it at the time because this is what this guy does, right? So I kind of assumed that he had thought through how it was going to look coming and going.
I was with this artist Colin Parsons like last weekend, and he's a sculptor that does outdoor sculptures.
As,
I could always pitch to him that like, hey, would you be willing to rent us something? And then I can get some images of stuff. You guys could like look through them and see if you like anything.
I think he's familiar because Silencio was in front of the Arvada Center and and he and Mike talked about that. So I think Colin kind of knows, but yeah, a call wouldn't hurt.
I mean, I feel like if we're gonna move it, we should put something else, just so we don't look like we did all this for nothing.
You mean like a chess piece?
Like a chess piece.
It's a Indiana Jones. It's an Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So, and if it's about renting, then maybe it ends up not being super expensive. I mean,
But there's also all of those sculptures that were out in that weird yard of his out in front of our Arvada Center, all those other artists that I'm sure are all available as well, because he's just leasing those too.
yeah,
And
I only know his work. I don't know those other.
yeah, I don't know if
We
you,
go buy something, like, just buy in a whole lot, we don't have to go through the process, right?
it depends on the price level again, because there's typically a bidding. That's why we were able to sort of hand pick these because they released.
Oh, because they were leased.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna outright buy,
We did still run these past the council. But we didn't do any kind of bidding process, but we did run them past the council. All right, well, maybe we just,
Sorry, guys. Has anybody actually done a drive-by and or walk around on that piece? To
Which one?
verify on Coyote Hawk, to verify whether or not that optical illusion even really works?
yeah, I mean, my kids go there, I drive it daily and it's unsatisfactory.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just gonna be that way no matter where you put it.
Oh, no. You're asking if there is any angle where it works? It totally works. If you're walking and you're on the sidewalks on either side of the street, you can make it do its thing. Yeah.
It's got a slow roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was bringing up earlier was that when you drive into Golden, I didn't really see the changes happening in those two either.
well, and what's the speed limit on that? It's almost impossible to see those, like, you gotta look fast.
I think his work's valuable. I mean, it's like he's doing a lot here in Colorado, and it's like
I wish it was a little
he's popular.
like a brighter red.
Well, if we own it, you could like show up in the dark of night with some spray paint.
Paint it with that green paint.
Liza drives the crane, Liza paints the sculpture.
All right. Well, I may have the record for the shortest meeting now because I sandbagged this one. Sorry, Susan.
It's
Well,
all good. It's all good.
that was just to start that discussion because we're going to have to figure out what to do with that acquisition budget for 2025. So be thinking, I guess, about how you feel about Cody Hawk and if we want to move it or do a Indiana Jones swap with a rental or how we want to proceed.
Maybe we could just add a whole budget section and kind of have all the projections, like have the spreadsheet up and put the projections in and do the math next week, next month.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Chris, where are you? We know where Andrew is. Where are you?
I'm at a beach in California called Stinson Beach, just north of San Francisco.
Nice. I was trying at first, I saw kind of mountains, water, wasn't sure where you were.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
kind of San Francisco's Malibu.
All righty, okay. If nobody has anything else, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:20 p.m.
Need a motion.
Oh, we do? Oops, sorry. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:20 p.m.?
So moved.
Okay, Andrew can motion, Liza will second.
And then we are adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Susan.